Hello! So, at the beginning of every month, I post on a community tab. I post my upload schedule, give you an idea of what my plans are for video uploads between this channel and the review channel, which is always linked in the description. And the schedule said that we were gonna do a, if you liked this video, recommendations. If you like this popular book, check out this kind of under the radar book, which I'll still do. But everybody's posting the mid-year freakout tag right now, and I have FOMO. So even though I'm at the tail end of that, and it's probably really too late for me to be bandwagon hopping, I'm gonna go ahead and hop on that bandwagon and freak out. So if you don't know, this is a series of questions that are asked that people can answer according to the midpoint in the year. How's your reading going? What do you like? What do you hate? We're gonna talk about it. So first question, best book you've read so far this year. So I already posted my video with the top 10 best books that I've read so far this year, and the answer in that video was The Wisdom of Crowds, which is the conclusion to the Age of Madness trilogy by Joe Abercrombie. I adored this trilogy. I've read a lot of good books this year, but this trilogy was incredible. It hit so many points that were just right for me. The character work, the betrayals, the hatred I experienced, the love, the complicated characters, the really difficult situations that they're put in, the world situations. It was just very good, and I really liked it, and I highly recommend. Question number 2, best sequel you've read so far this year. I have 3. This is typically how this goes for me. I'm very bad at answering questions correctly. The Wall of Storms. This is the second book in the Dandelion Dynasty. The first book is The Grace of Kings, and this was such a good follow-up. This was so good. Everything that Ken Liu did impeccably in book 1, he did again in book 2. Everything that was a bit of a stumbling block, that was a little bit difficult in the presentation, in the writing style, in the execution, he fixed. And so it just made it such a satisfying book. I enjoyed the sequel. I just finished this yesterday. I enjoyed the sequel so much. Then we have Midnight Tides, which is book 5 in the Malazan series. I've since read The Bone Hunters as well, so I've read the next book too, but this book is really, really special. And then Feet of Clay, which is book 3 in the City Watch arc of the Discworld series. So Guards is still my favorite of the City Watch books, probably just because it was my entry point to Discworld, and it just holds a special place in my heart. But Feet of Clay was something really, really special. I love the discussions that we had in this story. I love the way he did it. I love the characterization, the way the things that certain characters had to overcome and go through in this book. The conversations presented, just, oof, man, I really liked this. Question number 3, a new release that you haven't read yet, but you want to. I have 3. Darkwater Daughter, I wrote up my notes for this video this morning, and then this afternoon, right before I came downstairs to film, this came in the mail. I don't remember what this one is about. Mary Firth is a storm singer, so she can control when there's storms and hurricanes and stuff. She can control that, but she's also faced with servitude to a pirate lord. Okay, looks like it's dual perspective. There's also a character named Samuel who's a disgraced naval officer and is looking for revenge, it seems, and then their 2 perspectives collide. I remember several people have tagged me telling me, hey, this is a new release that looks really good. Someone who can control water magically, and there's pirates involved. That does sound perfect, but one of the main publisher tags is romance. So we'll see, but it doesn't matter. It's nautical. I'm in a huge nautical mood. I always am, but especially right now. So I'm going to be reading this the first week of August. We're going away on a quick trip in North Carolina, and I'm bringing a couple of nautical books, and this will be the one. Well, this will be one of them. Also, The Prophet of Edan, which is the sequel to The Way of Edan by my friend Philip Chase. I really enjoyed book 1. Very excited for book 2. This was released last month, and I haven't read it yet because we have a discussion planned. The group of us that we did a discussion for book 1. We have a discussion planned for book 2 as well, probably late August, and so I've been waiting until closer to that discussion date to read this. But I'm super excited to see where Philip takes this series, and I know there's dragons involved, so I'm happy. And then the last book, that's also being read in August, and then the last book on my list is Blood Over Over Brighthaven. This is by the author who wrote The Sword of Kaigen. This I think is already published as well, but I haven't bought it yet. I'm not going to buy it next month. So I don't know. I know I want to read this before the end of the year, but it's not quite as high of a priority as the other two. Those will probably be, both will be read in August for sure. Blood Over Brighthaven might be closer to, I don't know, September, November. October is also in there. Question number 4, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I don't keep up with new releases super well, and I also answered this question wrong in my notes. So the Final Secret Project, I'm very excited for. I want to see how Brandon wraps up these secret projects. This one is supposed to be a little bit different tone, I think, than the first 3 were, so I'm really excited to see what he does with that. I also wrote down Honey and Spice, which technically should have been an answer in the 3rd, because I'm pretty sure this one's already out. But I don't read romance, and if I do, I almost always don't like it. Not trying to be a hater. I love everyone that loves reading romance. It's just for whatever reason, I have such a hard time loving them. So why should I pick this up? Well, I was watching Tells of Tales video yesterday, or 2 days ago. Time's weird. I was watching Tells of Tales video the other day, and this is her favorite book of the year so far. The way she talked about it, she was just gushing, and it brought her so much joy. So I was convinced. I was convinced, and I want to love it too. So I really hope I love it too. But this has already been released, so technically I answered this in the wrong place. Question number 5, biggest disappointment. The Frugal Wizard's Guide, the Frugal Wizard's Handbook to a Guide to London. The second secret project by Brandon Sanderson. So I read Tress. It was amazing. I had so much fun with it. And I then read the Frugal Wizard's Guide and Handbook. And I didn't like it that much. There were things that I really enjoyed about it, and there were things that really, really didn't work for me, and the majority of the things that didn't work for me were the plot and the characters, like the biggest components of the book. Still plenty to talk about positively, but also plenty to talk about negatively, and while it's not my least favorite book of the year by any means, it is the biggest disappointment because I came off the high of Tress into Frugal Wizard's Handbook, and that was a bumski for me. Question number 6, biggest surprise. The Magicians. Where's that one? You know something else that I would like to accomplish by the end of the year? I need to reorganize these shelves. The problem is the way I have them organized, they look nice, and I don't have room to add more books. But I keep reading books and there's no space for them on my shelves. So what I need to do is I need to go through these shelves again, reorganize them and make more space again, so that all these books that I've read over the last several months that are just sitting on the floor in front of me can be put on the shelves. I also need to reorganize the shelves upstairs. The classic shelf looks good, but the shelf upstairs is also just a travesty at the moment. Anyway, The Magicians. So I went into this book knowing I might love it or I might hate it. Everything that I had heard about the premise of it, what it tries to be, I thought, oh, that sounds like my thing. That sounds perfect for me. But then every bit of commentary I heard around it and the problems with it, I thought, oh no, this could be horrible. And this is a book that continued to surprise me. This is a trilogy that continued to surprise me throughout the entire trilogy as I read through it, because these things would happen that are like, oh, I hated that. And yet I still managed to just love this trilogy so much the whole way through. This is one of those books where I feel like people are allowed to kind of laugh at me for loving it as much as I do, because I do have real problems with the series. I have like an over hour long review for the spoiler review for the trilogy on my review channel, because I just had so much I needed to talk about in the series. Oh, and I also have a spoiler-free vlog of the trilogy. And I just love these books, but there's also a lot in them that I don't love. But despite those flaws, I love these books so much. I don't know. It's funny. A lot of my friends look at me like, oh, you love that one? But why? But I do. Favorite new author. So Ken Liu, which I was just talking about, Grace of Kings, Wall of Storms. I started reading him at the beginning of the year. Bookborn told me that she really thought I would like his stuff. So I started with his short stories. I was blown away by his skill at writing such short form fiction with so much impact, with so much depth and development. And then I moved on to his novels and I'm just like, oh my goodness, these are so good. Also, Terry Pratchett, again, I started reading him in January and I am so blown away with his use of the English language, with his ability to characterize so many different types of people and to weave themes into the characters and into the plot in such a flawless way, but also in a way that just demands to be discussed. And then his humor. I love satirical, nonsensical humor so much, and I knew that I would probably like Pratchett after I finished The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and I loved it so much. I knew I would probably like Pratchett too, but I really like Pratchett. Question number 8, newest fictional crush. None. Question number 9, newest favorite character. This is a little bit challenging for me to answer because I don't know. There's a lot of characters I like. But one that came to my mind pretty quickly, so I could just write it down and move on, was Kojiro from Vagabond, which is a historical fiction samurai manga series. I read this with my friend Philip. And Kojiro is a character that gets introduced really late in the game and who I love so much. He's such a delight to follow. And so many of the greatest scenes in the series involve him and his joy and his connection to the world, and I just love him. Hi, Editing Murphy here. So I thought of more answers to this question, a lot more answers. I would like to submit Mimi, which is her name changes in the book, but I'll submit Mimi as an answer for a favorite character, because I love her so much. She's from Wall of Storms. And I'd also like to submit Crab from The Bone Hunters. I'm sitting down right now to record a review for The Bone Hunters, which will be up on the review channel on Tuesday. And I'm going to talk about him too much in that video because I love him so much. And with this question, I would like to go ahead and couple it with a follow-up, least favorite characters so far this year. And if you know how much I love Crab, I think you're gonna be able to guess who I hate in this book, which I will not say the name, because that would this character goes through quite a journey throughout the series, but I would like to say that I hate this character. And we'll talk about that a lot in the review too, if you've read it. I would also like to submit, back to Wall of Storms, another character that I hate. Her name is Jaya. And as I said in the reading vlog that will go up the day before this on the review channel, she's such a well-written character. She's so nuanced, and she's someone that is very interesting. Like, I want to understand her better. The way she thinks and the way she responds to situations is fascinating. And she has good intentions, but the way she goes about everything, I want to punch her in the face. So, back to the video. Question number 10, a book that made you cry. I went with Yona for this because a lot of books make me cry. This is pretty easy. This is an easy threshold to meet. But I do know that Yona, there's a particular character, Zeno, who has made me cry so many times. I just want him to be safe and happy, and I've sacrificed a few tears to him and his story. Question number 11, a book that made you happy. For this, again, a lot of books make me happy. I have many joys in my life, but I'm going to choose Don Quixote because this book was such a surprise to me, a delightful surprise. I wanted to read it for a video that I was doing, and I needed to have knowledge of what this book is for reference. And from the first chapter, I think from the first sentence, no, it wasn't the first sentence, but I'm underlining things by the end of the first page. It's so funny. I didn't know that this book was in large part satirical. I love satire humor. And the jokes in this, I mean, this is an old book, and the jokes in this still land so well. We follow Don Quixote, or at least that's the name that he's given himself, who is a character who has read so many novels that his brain has rotted and he can't tell the difference between fact and fiction. And I think that's such a funny way to introduce the main character in a 1,000-page novel. But anyway, he is a very confused man, and there's many hilarious shenanigans that he gets into because of that. But also the book, I mean, this is a bind up, this is 2 books. Don Quixote, if you don't know, is 2 books. But the second half, the second book it takes such a turn from that satire to more of a tragedy and more of an inward look on humanity and what humans are capable of, and the struggles of life and the struggles of mental health. And it still is so funny. Like the second book is maybe funnier than the first book, but it's also a lot more than just a 1,000-page novel of satire. It's just... The question wasn't which book surprised you, which I think is actually in this, maybe? Yeah, biggest surprise. That was The Magicians. Don Quixote too. Question number 12, most beautiful book you've bought so far this year or received. Okay, I really, really love the covers of the Dandelion Dynasty. I don't like the US covers. I think they're ugly, but the UK covers are gorgeous, so I buy them on Book Depository. No, that's wrong. Blackwell's. I buy them on Blackwell's because I can get the UK editions there, and it takes forever for them to get to me, but they're really pretty. I also really love the edition of Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson, the first secret project, but I think all 3 of the secret projects that we've seen so far are all gorgeous inside and out. And then also I bought this box set. It's upstairs. I'm not gonna bring it down right now, but it needs to find space on this shelf too. I bought a box set for the Jack Aubrey series. The first book is called Master and Commander, and I've read the first book and I really enjoyed it, but there's 21 in total. And both with the dust jackets and without them, it's such a pretty box set. I just really, just so pretty. Question number 13, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? Obviously, all of them. This is such a weird question because just in my August TBR, I have a list of like 15 books that I need to whittle down to a more reasonable number, to a more possible number. And that's just for August, like the rest of the year. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to actually focus on something that I've been thinking about, which is the fact that I have too many epic fantasies open at the moment. Malazan, I've read the first 6 books. I absolutely want to be reading book 7 soonish. The Dandelion Dynasty, I have 2 more books to read, which the 2 should be read together, so it's kind of like one 2,000-page book that I need to read. And I'm still supposed to be reading Robin Hobb. I'm supposed to be reading the next Fitz trilogy to see if Fitz can finally win me over in some capacity so that I can get to the Rain Wilds trilogy. I loved the Live Ship Traders trilogy by Robin Hobb, and I want to read more of her work, but where's the time when I have these 1,000-page books in Malazan and Dandelion Dynasty that I'm already reading? Where's the time to read a 1,000-page Hobb book too, on top of all these other books, these smaller books that I want to be reading as well? Who has this time? Not I. I want to read by the end of the year at least both of the Dandelion Dynasty, complete that trilogy, at least 2 more Malazans, and at least 1 more Hobb, but I'd like to read at least 2 more of hers too, plus all the other books I want to read. That's dumb. My expectations are unreasonable. Anyway, that is the mid-year freakout tag. I guess we did a little bit of freaking out there at the end. I kind of didn't expect to, but I am having a bit of a crisis with these epics that I'm trying to read alongside all these shorter books. Anyway, I'll deal with that off camera. Let me know what you think. If you want to answer these questions in the comments, they are in the description of this video, so you can just copy and paste the comments and give me your answers, or just tell me your best and most disappointing books of the year if you want to keep it short, or respond to anything that I said here if you feel like. Just chat with me. me. I post videos every Monday and Friday on this channel, Tuesdays and Thursdays on the review channel, which is always linked in the description. Check out my Patreon if you feel like it. We buddy read every book I read. Well, we have a buddy read open for every book I read, and then people just join in on the ones that interest them the most. And it's just super fun there. I'll see you again soon. Bye.